listeners, and welcome to a neat episode of BioLogic Science News. Today, I want to talk about lineages of corals in the Persian Gulf that have genetically adapted to be able to handle water temperatures as warm as 36 degrees Celsius, or 97 degrees Fahrenheit. The researchers opened their paper by talking about how coral reefs have suffered and have been diminished because of climate change, because of symptoms like the warming temperature and the increasing acidity of the ocean water, which is a direct secondary cause of increasing CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. Coral reefs typically start to bleach and die off when the temperature gets too high for them to conduct the necessary chemical reactions. And for many species, this safe temperature range extends just 1 or 2 degrees Celsius above the average ambient temperature. So even minor fluctuations in local temperature, especially prolonged perturbations in the temperature, can have absolutely devastating effects on coral populations. The study focused on corals that already live in extreme environments, like the corals that live in the waters off the northeastern coast of Saudi Arabia, in the Persian Gulf. Some of these corals are exposed to seasonal water temps around 34 to 46 degrees Celsius, which is some of the hottest water that any coral anywhere is exposed to. The researchers sampled the coral and algae symbiotes from the Ras Al Khaimah site and the Saadiyat site in the Persian Gulf, and compared their genomes to samples of coral and algae taken from the Fujairah and Muscat sites in the Gulf of Oman. The Gulf of Oman is a neighboring body of water southeast of the Persian Gulf, connected by the Strait of Hormuz. Water currents have limited the gene flow between these communities, creating distinct lineages and discrete populations of corals and algae that are exposed to different oceanographic variables and different evolutionary pressures. What they found was that there were indeed these distinct genetic differences between the two coral populations, and that those corals in the Persian Gulf had made adaptations to make themselves more heat tolerant. There's even a new species of coral, called Symbiodinium thermophyllum, named after its love of heat. The researchers make a note in their results section that gene flow from these thermophilic corals and algae could spread outwards to the rest of the Indian Ocean, and it could work like a genetic safeguard for coral reefs. By introducing these traits to coral reefs, the reefs beef up their heat tolerance, and thus their ability to perpetuate themselves into a future where a warming climate creates warmer and warmer ocean water. More than this, the Persian Gulf corals give us a means to study the genetic basis for heat tolerance in corals generally, which could potentially lead to breakthrough genetic developments, like lab-tailored species of corals that are optimized for warmer climates and warmer water. If we can pull that off, we might just be able to avoid the catastrophic ecological collapse that will follow the death of the coral reefs.